Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Choate. I want to put 10 thoughts out there for discussion about child protection, things that you may or may not agree with, but I think are worth having conversations about. The first thing about child protection is that many of the families come from a sense of normal that is not typical of what you might have an experience with. Trauma, for example, can be the normal for many families that we work with in the child protection system. Secondly, there is greater involvement with disadvantaged populations in the child protection system. This includes indigenous, marginalized, and poor populations. That means that the populations come from places that many social workers don't have experience with. They haven't come from those same experiences, and they haven't come from those kinds of understandings about how do you cope and survive in an environment with those kinds of realities. Number three is that this population also comes with greater risk factors as a result of the disadvantages that they have. This includes the history of trauma, which I've mentioned already, as well as significant mental health issues and addiction issues. So as a result, they come to our involvement with histories that are complicated but not insurmountable. Number four, as a result of the issues that I've just spoken about, it also means that many of the families that we work with come with fewer internal coping resources that allow them to be successful in facing life's adversities. Well, but that's not entirely true, because when we begin to look at how they have managed, we discover that despite the adversities, including the histories of trauma, addiction, and mental health, that they have managed to cope and survive. So they're not without internal resources, but often those internal resources are not sufficient to be able to successfully raise children. Number five, supports from their perspective are not always helpful. This can be for a variety of reasons, some of which is that it doesn't speak to them in language that they understand. Part of our job in working in the child protection system is to be able to talk to families and be able to talk to children and their parents in ways that make sense to them. As a result, trauma-informed conversation, an understanding of addictions, an understanding of mental health issues, and the real lived experiences that people have with those problems is an important part of building a relationship with a family. And it's important to remember that regardless of what modality of treatment or intervention is used with families in the child protection system, research tells us that the single most important variable in determining whether or not a family will make significant progress is the nature of the relationship that exists between the family and the social worker. Now, that's not a universally true sentence, but it is a statistically significant difference, so thus the quality of the relationship that you build is important. And as a result, it is with that that parents and children are able to see that the supports you offer have meaning because you believe in them and you are willing to listen to them, and listen in an active sense of that word. Number six, apprehending a child is not without risks. In fact, for the child, it's a traumatic event, even when they have been exposed to abuse in their family of origin. Abused children know the family that they came from and the environment that they came from, and for them, that's a level of normal. For many children, particularly those who are quite young, they don't have another frame of reference to compare against, and thus they won't necessarily understand why it is they're being taken away from their family, because for them, this is what normal has been. Also remember that the vast majority of children who are involved in the child protection system are there not because of physical or sexual abuse, but because of issues of neglect, which go back to the beginning of what I was referring to, which is, for example, the presence of poverty and other adversities in the life of the families. The other thing that's important about apprehension, and this is number seven, The longer children are in care, the poorer the outcome. In other words, the longer a child is in care, the less probable it is that the child will be returned to parental care. Therefore, it is really crucial that we try to engage families as quickly as possible and get them into meaningful change processes wherever it is possible to do so, and to do so as quickly and efficiently as we can. Now, some problems are so complex that it is difficult to do things in a short time, but we should remember the longer a child is in care and the longer it takes a child to get back into the family, the poorer the outcome. Kinship care is often preferred, and this is number 8, but not necessarily is it always better. We shouldn't work from an assumption that kinship care is the solution or even the interim solution. But in general, it is the better thing to do. Number 9, think of all that we've talked about so far. Parental anger is normal, and it should be expected. And in fact, in some way, it should be embraced. Because if a family is angry at your intervention, well, that, I think, is a good thing, because it means that they understand that somebody with more power in their life has now taken a step that intrudes on their life. Think about it. If it was your situation, even if you thought you were not doing things well, what's it like to have an authority figure with a substantial amount of power come into your life and tell you what to do? Anger, I think, is normal. Not everybody is angry, but when you experience it with a parent in the child protection system, don't be afraid of it. Embrace it and see it as a respectful, see it from a respectful position, and that is that if you were in their shoes, you too might be angry. And number 10, children, when they come into care, in most cases, require as much safe contact with their family as possible in as normal an environment as possible. Now, that doesn't mean that every child is going to be able to have safe contact with a parent, because some parents have issues that preclude that. But most parents are able to engage their children in visits and do so in a safe way. The more we can keep that contact between parent and child going, the better it is for both the parents and the children. It allows us to build on those interactions in ways that enhance parenting so that the parent can be good enough for the task. And this is really number 11. I know I said 10, but this is number 11. We're not looking for perfection. We are looking for parenting that is good enough for the task. Thank you.